So ModPo is a MOOC, a massive open online course. Tens of thousands of people are students in the course. This hasn't been done at this scale. This is a new thing. So I wonder what you think. I know that you think it's a good thing, but beyond that, what do you think are some of the benefits or advantages of having done it this way? And the downsides too, if we want. Max?
I think it's interesting because it socializes, it uses technology to socialize learning in an unprecedented way, and in a sense it takes what we're doing here with there's 8 of us and globalizes it. And so it's taking sort of the hope of this format and really using the tools at our disposal to take it to another level, to take it to a new realm.
Are you really saying that the model of an intimate community can scale?
I think that's something that the MOOC teaches us and will teach us in the years to come to see whether or not it can scale, on what level it can scale. I think these are things we'll watch for.
Okay. Molly, your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think it can scale because within this giant community, there are lots of little communities just like ours, and then the communities form connections between each other, and I don't see any reason why it can't continue to expand, and the more perspectives and different experiences brought to the table, the more sort of rich experience we'll have with the work.
Good, well said. Anna?
I just get so much joy out of seeing this stuff that I love and we love so much reach so many people. That, you know, maybe someone in, I don't know, let's say North Carolina wouldn't have picked up a book of Ashbery poems before, but maybe now they do, or maybe there's someone in California who's just like never really read Emily Dickinson before, and like now they do. And
just as outreach.
Yeah.
Just leaving everything aside. Just
there.
Outreach. Just using what we've figured out over the years and the materials that we have, making them available is outreach. Leaving everything else aside. Okay. Allie?
Yeah, I just love the moments in some of the live webcasts when someone will call in from like literally the other side of the world. And like you just engage, and first of all, it's, as Anna was saying, like it's cool to have that perspective, but it's also, and as Max was saying, it's just a kind of unprecedented way of having those connections. And I think it really does make you feel closer in a very cool way.
Good. Dave?
ModPo is a little bit of a unique MOOC in that it really does focus so much on forming a community. And that's so important. I think it actually becomes almost like a global close reading. If you think of the MOOC as a big close reading, we're still benefiting from the perspectives of everybody who comes to the table with all their experiences. And it just creates a tremendous group close reading that everybody benefits from.
What advice would you give to a maker of another MOOC so that some of those qualities can inhere in their method?
I think one of the greatest parts about ModPo is the interactivity that you and we try to have with the students. It creates a genuine feeling of community, that it's not just watching lectures, but it's participating in something that's ongoing, and that helps.
So you're saying that the instructor should be part of the conversation?
Absolutely.
Okay, Anne-Marie?
I thought that one of the most important aspects of it was the accessibility. So Max was talking about how it socializes learning in a new way, but particularly for people either in countries where this type of course or pedagogy has never been offered, of a certain age, perhaps they have disabilities, perhaps they never had the opportunity during their institutionalized settings to engage with students, or indeed the professor, are now afforded that unique opportunity, and surprisingly in the context of a large-scale community.
Emily?
Some of the most interesting criticism that I've read recently sort of harkens for this reevaluation of books not as just cultural objects or historical or intellectual objects, but as social objects, as things which move millions and millions of people. And the great thing about ModPo is that the very nature of it performs that the sociability of text and the social capacities of reading.
Wow, the sociability of text, emphasize. That's great. Okay, one more round. This is going to be quick, starting with Max. ModPo has affected you personally, how? What'd you get from it?
Well, as somebody who hopes,
Aside from fame.
well, aside from my 15 or maybe 30 minutes of fame, we'll see. As somebody who hopes to go into an academic or profession, to work as a teacher, to work as a scholar, to work essentially at a university, I think it's been really important to see where the future lies, and to just get this glimpse of how can we keep the university sustainable, how can we keep it relevant and important in a world where expertise can be traded virtually across the globe.
Good. Molly, how's it affected you?
From an emotional standpoint, of course. I just draw a lot of joy from watching people sort of receive new information and create new meaning for themselves with these poems, and especially people who may not have had the chance to have a traditional university education. I think the accessibility is really what does it for me.
Anna?
I can't even begin to quantify what this has meant to me. I guess all I'll say right now is just I've had so much fun. So much fun.
Say one more thing.
I guess what I'll say is that I hate having that conversation at home of what are you gonna do with your English major? Well, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I learned so much from this experience in terms of how you teach people poetry, how you teach even the particular pedagogy we use. I've just learned so much from the experience of doing this and from hearing it from the people who have taken the course. It's just gonna keep giving me that gift.
Great. Al?
I think you sent out an article recently. I think it was you. It could have been something that I just saw.
I'm just one of those people who sends you things.
But it was, I think, in the New Yorker, about how poetry really is just dead. And I just remember reading through the whole thing and kind of chuckling to myself, because I just think that's very untrue, and I think that ModPo is a testament to that. And I think it's a lot harder to see that when it's just a classroom, 30 or so undergrads who are all, already interested in poetry and presumably. But when you have a community that's, thousands and thousands of people from all across the world, it's just this very affirming statement that no, we're still interested in this.
Beautiful. Poetry's alive and well. Dave?
For me, it's been incredibly humbling and flattering to be associated with, first, this group, this class itself, everybody in it who's made it what it is, and in a larger sense, everybody who we've been able to expose to poetry, just to be a part of that and to really make an impact on some people. To be part of that has been a great experience.
Wonderful. Amaris?
I think some of the great moments have been when we've invited students to come up to the panel during webcasts, and to see that arc of confidence build throughout the course, not only with all the students, but even the people sitting around this table, just really shows that the value of the course was not only in poetry or close reading, but also just that very important, essential skill of conversation and exchange.
Nice. Emily, personally, how has it benefited you personally?
It's the difference between ModPo and basically any other sort of formalized setting of learning, if you can even call it that, is that people taking this class 100% are taking this class because they want to learn the material, and you're not going to find that anywhere else ever. So having this community of thousands of people who are all that enthusiastic and that committed is incredibly joyful and a warm and reassuring environment to be in, as a sign that art is meaningful for people for no other reason than that they love it.
Well, I'll say one of the things that it's done for me has to do with the Writers' House. When I founded the Writers' House with others in 1995, we were in this house and it was unrenovated. And when we renovated the house, the people of the university, and they weren't doing anything wrong by suggesting this, they felt very strongly we should have a card swipe at the front door so that only people with a pen ID could come in, and it's a security thing. And the windows should have the security screens, I guess they called it, that you can't slice. It's very hard to get in. And somehow we were successful in vetoing both of those things. We would never charge any money for coming in, and we would never keep anyone out. And frankly, I guess it's Dickinsonian, you know, numerous of windows. We just let people crawl in the windows, I suppose. I'm not sure where that metaphor was going, but I always felt that way, that the Writers' House needed to be open. And it wasn't until ModPo that I realized what open could be. I mean, metaphorically, not having a card swipe, that's a silly concept when you think of a MOOC. Everyone can come in the door of the Writers' House. So it's not a coincidence that the plaque in the vestibule of the Writers' House is the Dickinson poem for occupation. This, the dwelling, help me with this. Spreading wide my narrow hands to gather paradise. And I think that not to be too silly or theological about MOOCs, about the possibility of MOOCs, I think that gathering paradise is kind of the opposite of putting a card swipe on the front door. And so we finally proven what the Writers' House, what this was all about, which was to be radically open